a massive part of my life and a big fulcrum point. But I think
Come on.
what I loved watching the most was that really cool moment where Soups gets up after being floored by the world engine and
Oh yeah,
then just, slowly standing up through the gravity beam and
yeah.
then just nails it.
Ja
That
nyt
turned
tähän
out really,
äkkiä
really
niin
cool.
kuin
But there are
Julikin
so
sanoo,
many cool
niin
scenes in the movie.
Henry Cavill ei
It's
vittu
tough to pick
monen
just one.
vitun kuukauteen
That's an
vuoteen
amazing.
puhunut
I
satan
agree.
tästä
That's an
Supermanista
amazing.
mitään. Se
Ei
Justice
niin.
League jälkeen puhunut mitään siitä.
Ei niin.
Ja nyt se on vasta, joo, Burrow
How
Boys,
about
vittu
yours?
mä oon
Kaikki
Debbie?
on ollut
vittu
vähän
saatana
hiljaa.
What was your favorite
keippiä
scene to
täällä,
shoot?
vittu. Come on, vittu, mä en oo Steel 2
My
Sandra kanssa
favorite
nyt vittu.
scene to shoot, I think, although it was also the hardest, was the Smallville battle. I think that was the most exciting to see all that stuff happen. But I also remember it was like 100 and like some odd degree. It was really hot. And it was hot for me, but you guys were all in those suits. And
Yeah.
I remember the cooling systems that we had to stick in because, you know, it was dangerous. At one point, we had to keep you guys cool. But it was just exciting to see that come to life and to be in the town.
I think it was literally 100 degrees, and you guys were in basically wetsuits. I remember one time Henry would go had his suit, and he pulled the sleeve of his suit, and sweat,
just
AKA
gushing out. Yeah,
a garden hose of sweat poured out, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's
It was very, very hot. I remember everyone trying to usher me into air-conditioned rooms in between setups and takes, and I was like, guys, I've got to stay one temperature. If you keep on getting me cool, it's going to be miserable for me every time I go back into the heat.
Yeah, I'm gonna
gonna
have
stay here.
pneumonia next time I walk up there. No, it's cool. It was like it was a version of you were like Swedish. You know how if you go from a sauna to the snow, but it was in reverse.
In reverse. Yeah, that was a fun sequence actually. How long did that sequence take? That was a while.
The Smallville sequence, I think, was a week. We shot for a week of just fighting. Yeah, it was intense.
By the way,
it might have been more.
And the town was so great too because they had to shut down.
Yeah, they let us pretty much
Plano.
Yeah, destroy that town. That was good.
No, and then I think they were happy because afterwards, I think a lot of people came to the town because they wanted to see.
I think for a while there was a museum, museum. I mean, it's cool. Let's call it that, but I don't know.
A thing. Yeah, a building, a room.
It was great.
It had artifacts in it, really important artifacts.
They were so friendly, and I remember the police department and fire department. They were so helpful.
Oh yeah, I had my Plano Police Department T-shirt. I used to wear all the time.
I remember driving to work every day. Well, I didn't drive, but being driven to work every day, and there were kryptonite cookie signs and stuff at all the farms, and that was a nice touch. It made us all feel really at home there. So thank you, Plano.
It was beautiful. By the way, it was beautiful. Do you remember the cicadas when we shot at the farm? They were so loud. I remember we had it was just so loud, all the sounds. I remember all the production problems. The sound got ruined.
I was good. Oh yeah, the sound totally did get ruined.
We had to ADR all of that.
Because there's like cricket, and the bad cicada. Anyway,
I don't know. That was pretty good, Zach.
Thank you. I'm known for my cicada imitation. I sometimes ask. I'm asked to do it at parties all the time, and I'm like, guys, I don't. It's embarrassing. I'm so good at it. I was going to do some Q&A with some fans, but you're here. Do you want to?
Hey, yeah, I'm in.
You want to join in and hear some of these?
I think we have some people that we can have join our Zoom here.
Cool.
I didn't even know what Zoom was before,
Yeah, now everything is Zoom. Now you can't not Zoom.
Yeah, I just thought it was moving quickly.
I Zoom I zoom upstairs to like, hey, I want a sandwich. Zoom. As opposed
Zack
to
Snyder Justice,
let me just look at my
fuck.
I think it's just gonna take them a bit to get everyone.
Hang on, everyone's coming up.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Then it's so funny when
Hey, how you
doing? Hey, Henry.
It's happening, dude.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, Joey.
Zach, Debbie, Henry, it's great to see you.
Jesus, fuck me.
Good to see you too.
Awesome.
Were you able to watch? Were you watching?
Yes.
Definitely
Oh yeah.
How was your sync? Did you guys get the sync okay?
Yeah, it was
Okay,
pretty close.
perfect.
Siis
Give or
ilmeisesti
take.
kun meni se
Yeah.
vitun koulu.
Hi
Give or
guys.
take. Yeah. I was like, what is he talking about?
Well, you know what I mean. That them trying to like have the movie match.
Oh yeah, no. There were things you were talking about, and I was like, I'm definitely in the wrong place.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I did jump around. Sometimes I would see something during the movie, and I'd go, "Hey, that reminds me of something that happens at the end of the movie." And I'm sure if you tuned in at that point, you'd be like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
what the hell is he talking about? He's
Vittu,
insane.
tuli
He's
vielä
lost his
lisää
mind."
porukkaa.
I just
Right,
got so
right.
wrapped up in that
Niin,
hot dog
niin
truck.
tonne saa mennä vittu tänne
I don't know. We
puhumaan.
just see. I'm in a grid setting, but I
Oh
don't
my
know if I
god,
see every
vieläkin
single person.
tulee
There's Henry.
porukka. Jesus
There you go,
Christ,
swipe over.
antakaa
Just like-
Swipe? Really?
Yeah, just
kamerat
You're making me
työskentely
nervous.
olla.
Hello.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
say
Good.
Hi guys.
Hi.
A second
No
page.
one fits. We're on the iPad, so not everyone fits on one page on the iPad. So.
There you
Yeah,
go.
same here with
Dude,
the
thank
call.
you guys for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Guys,
Thank
and also
you.
Mr. Cavill. I'm a big fan of yours.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Hey Henry,
Well,
what's going on? It's Dustin.
Hi,
Henry, I love
Just... Hey, Daniela.
So guys,
I'm so happy.
you guys all have some questions, yeah?
Oh, absolutely.
Pay attention to her question.
Yeah, I'm just looking.
Please fucking do it. Ask
Oh, yeah,
it,
so,
vittu, kysykää sitä vittu Snyder kattia nyt vittu.
Kukka ei uskalla. Tulee bänni.
Ei
So,
saatana,
I'm
nyt
just
näkö.
looking here.
Nyt on monka.
Oh, Joey, go ahead. Ask me your question because I think it's pretty. I mean, I think it's, as far as the movie goes, it's pretty important.
Sure. So it actually fits in because at the beginning you talked about the reference with how Doomsday broke that moon overlooking Krypton, and I hadn't heard a lot of people talk about that. So I was wondering if there were any Easter eggs in any of your DC movies or movies in general that people haven't caught yet, or any that you've wanted to put in but you decided ultimately not to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess like I think there's probably a couple hundred that are in there. I haven't really done a running tally of maybe that's a thing, a project of mine, maybe during my isolation I'll do an internet scrub of all the Easter eggs and all the ones that have been identified.
Sure, yeah.
But I gotta say I haven't done that yet, and I'm sorry, but I will. But I think like I'll say, some of my favorite. I mean, just there in that last sequence.
What's up, Harrison?
Just having like the Wayne logo on the satellite and the LexCorp, gas truck. It's not really an Easter egg because you can see it, but it also
Right, sure.
it's in retrospect, it's a bigger Easter egg than you probably thought at the time.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I think that's fine. And also, I think, talking about just for instance, the guy with the Martian screensaver on his computer at the base, at the Arctic base, because he was the guy that brought the Martian images from Watchmen to into that Dr. Manhattan sequence where they're looking for Manhattan.
Yeah, I got that too. I thought that was great.
That's it. But look, I think partly the reason why we have so many Easter eggs in the movies is because I think we have such a good time, and we pay so much. There's so much detail, and we spend so much time thinking about everything that we inevitably end up with either like super important Easter eggs, like what I would consider, LexCorp, or we end up with super silly ones like the hot dog truck that's driving around.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think what it shows is that there's a lot of caring and a lot of attention to details. But
yeah, and I think no matter the degree, like it shows that you care about this world that you're building, and I thank you for that. It's really great to see.
Well, thanks. That's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Let's see. I have another screen, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Hang on, if I look like I'm doing this, it's because I'm scrolling, scrubbing. Let's see. So I have one from.
Lyö kiinni kohta. Aika awkward.
Chris.
Silence.
Chris.
I'm here.
Chris, what do you got, sir?
Well, my favorite character in Man of Steel, or one of my favorite characters, is Jonathan Kent. I thought that Kevin Costner was perfect in the role of Jonathan Kent, and what you've already said before about him bringing sensitivity to the role, and being a father myself and listening to his dialogue, which I thought was perfect. Everything he says in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman was wonderful. My question to you was, and I think you've answered it already during the stream, was what is your favorite piece of dialogue or life advice that Jonathan gives to Clark in Man of Steel? And also, hi Henry, you're my hero.
Oh, thanks, mate.
You're welcome.
Aina heittää.
It's cool because he actually plays a hero, so it's a great.
Yeah.
It worked out.
Thank goodness for that, otherwise it'd be super awkward.
Oh, in fact, I brought some beer because I noticed that you had a bottle of vodka there at the beginning, so I brought a beer.
It's not. I said it was not vodka. I said
Sure,
that. I don't want
that
everyone to be
you're
like.
saying it, Zach.
And one more thing.
How do we really know?
Happy birthday
No,
to your
exactly.
mum a few
That's
days
actually,
ago,
I
Debbie.
wasn't. Oh wait, what? Say that again.
I said happy birthday to your mum a few days ago, Debbie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Damn, son.
She might be watching right now.
She is watching. She was here in March because she lives on the East Coast, and because of the quarantine, we're like, you're not going back. You're staying here. So it's been nice having her.
Yeah, she basically is. She's in like a weird prison with us. So
Nah, she's enjoying it. Spending time with the kids, and she's been cooking. So we've gained, like we say, it's like
it's ridiculous.
the quarantine 15 or something.
It's a quarantine 15. That is right. That's what we have at the hospital.
And also, Zach, before you answer the question, I just want to say thank you so much for your movies and connecting me to the most wonderful people in the world. You are a true hero of mine. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough.
That's kind. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I guess, yeah. And look, I feel like I was saying, I feel the same way about Jonathan Kent. I think Kevin's work is like really humanizes him in an amazing way. And actually, I think Kevin has this kind of simple, a really earnest and beautiful way about him. He's also an amazing athlete. I know this is an aside, but we would throw the football or on set, and I like to throw, whatever object is around. And it's just nice, it's always fun. It's like Field of Dreams. I was like, this is awesome. Throwing football with Kevin Costner is kind of cool. For me, I guess being just growing up, it was pretty cool experience. But again, like I said, when I was watching the movie, it's that moment for me when he says, just the way he says, "You are my son,"
Yeah.
It's so.
Miettikö tullut
for me, it's just
vastauksena
really
vaan, että joo, tuu tohon meidän
Yeah.
striimiin
Really feel it,
mukaan.
I always feel like this whole thing, and maybe because
Ei
we
itse kyllä ei
have
uskaltaisi
adopted
mennä
children,
hyi
it is
saata.
this great story
Olisin
about
kai
who is your
laittanutkaan mitään.
family. And because to me, at the end, it's like
Ei
Clark
jos
makes
sulla
the
mitään
choice
järkevää
to
kysymystä.
adopt us as his family, the world, humanity. And I just think it's really
Vitun kivasta
beautiful,
Zack Snyder.
in that's why this story, is such a personal.
Suora vaan asia. Ei oo kuulunut Snyder Cutista mitään, niin mikä sille on?
One of my favorite scenes as well is at the very end, and Henry is overlooking his dad's, Superman's dad's grave, and Martha says, "He saw it, Clark, believe me," and then it cuts to a scene where Jonathan Kent's watching him with the red sort of cape on his back, and the typical Superman, the Superman stance. It was just magical, truly magical. And I always look at it and think, did my dad look at me like that when I was little? And now I look at my children, what are they going to be when they grow up? And it's truly amazing. Every time I watch it, it always gets me. And right here.
Too deep.
It's a story for
That's
generations.
awesome.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good because that was, you know, when you make a movie and you have a moment like this, and you have this idea,
Snyderillakin aina
you know,
vähän
for
vaikeuksia niin
some
selittää
moment
asiaa.
where that might be a thing.
Tietää se
And
asia,
you,
mutta on niin vaikeaa
like,
selittää.
the first time you sort of
Taas
talk about it
katkaistaan
or
yhden.
you make a note or you do a doodle, and because hopefully as a filmmaker or an actor or hopefully an audience at the same in our relationship that we all have with each other, you feel it that first time, and when you feel it that first time, you have to go through a process to make it real, right? And I think that that process of realizing it and then getting actors and then filming it and all that stuff, it gets a little away from you every time. Not away, but it gets a little harder to get that feeling, and I think that it's an awesome thing when you get it and you see it on screen, and maybe the first time you see it and you're like, that's it, I felt it, it happened. And then when you talk to someone who's never seen it or had an experience with it at all, or had it, had to go through this ladder of events to get it onto a screen in front of them, and they feel it, it's a really cool thing, because you're like, wow, okay, like it worked, like the process worked. It didn't fail me, which
Definitely did.
I'm not saying that it did every time, but it's pretty cool.
All right, who else?
Who else?
Nyt vasta hokas tullaan tuo Zack Snyderin paita päin.
Sylvia?
Niin,
Is that how I say
se
your
on
name?
heti ekana kun näkin
Yes.
toi.
Hey.
Jumala
Hakemassa vettä.
I'm good. Hi, everyone. First, Henry,
Mä luulen, että sä puhuit
you were
tuosta
amazing in The Witcher,
Zackista jotakin.
and
Ja
get
sen
all
takia
the
mä olin sitä.
big parts, please. And you kind of answered my question already. Did you have a plan for Supergirl in the DC Extended Universe when you made Man of Steel? There is a Man of Steel prequel comic featuring Kara. Was there ever a plan to continue the story later, introducing her in a Superman solo like you did with Wonder Woman in Batman v Superman, and then give her a solo? Because the theme of family is so strong in the DCU that I think it would be nice to see that meeting between Henry and her not end up alone.
Toppikysymys melkeinpä taisi tulla.
Like he did.
Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome question, and by the way, it's a super powerful character, and and I would say like an amazingly iconic character, and we really wanted to keep as we went forward. It was always my intention to broaden the universe and to continue to start to bring in more and more of the family, if you will. And I think that she certainly falls into that category. And certainly the idea of a standalone
unohdetaan muuten nappulata, siihen vaikuttaa tähän mikkiin.
It's cool. It's a cool idea.
Ennen
I don't have
vaan hakata
script or anything in mind, but it would be amazing to see.
Just semmoiselta
for all of us, I think.
Liikuttaisit jotain mangettia siitä ohi, niin
I love you all.
rupee säpsiä sieltä tai jotakin tommoista.
That's cool. Let's see. Who else?
Henrikin vähän silleen tätä, mitähän tuo Zack meinaa vastata.
Oh, how about the Kryptonian?
Did we talk to Jacob? Jacob.
Hi, Mr. Snyder and Mrs.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good.
Okay, and Dad,
The dog in the house.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's about that suit that came from the Kryptonian ship. How did that, whoever designed the suit, that Kryptonian suit to be blue, and why did one of the family members of the L family chose to be blue, red, and yellow? I mean, what does the color represent? Other
Sure.
than,
I mean, I talked about it a little bit when we were watching the movie, but I think that there's a lot of ways to think about the suits. We had massive conversations when we were making the movie about like what the suits were they, you know, because you can see that like what we try to do is the basic suit, like what the sort of we call the skin suit that Clark is wearing and that Jor-El is wearing and Zod is wearing. That's kind of that is the practical, like everyday wear of a Kryptonian out in the world, right? Like you see them, everything that they're doing, they have this sort of this skin suit on underneath their, whether it be armor, whether it even be like they're in the like those like mech suits that they're walking around that planet on. They always underneath they have this kind of consistent, you know, that skin suit. And then I feel like we always talked about the cape being sort of a formalized version of that. So like in the dream sequence with Zod, you see he's wearing a cape in that sequence, right? But in the other sequences, he's not, right? So it's like there's like a formalized version of the skin suit that has a cape. And so my way of thinking about it was two ways. You can either think that the House of El, which is a long-standing house of noble stature on Krypton, that their ancestors were explorers, and it was literally part of that family that was exploring the universe, which I'm fine with. But also, I think you can think about it in terms of because Jor-El's AI is in the ship, that he can these skin suits are controlled by the ship and manufactured or created in the creches, and so they would represent different guilds and different presentations. And I think that the red and blue, like I was saying, is a diplomatic presentation color for the Kryptonians, and would allow this notion of diplomacy. And sort of, if you listen to what Jor-El is saying during that sequence in his explanation of what you're going to mean to the people of Earth, you can imagine that would be, you know, what he would hope for the outward image of Superman to the world would be, you know. Does that make any sense?
Yes. Henry, what was it like for you when you put on the suit after it was made for the first time? What was that moment like for you?
Difficult to forget, I'll say that much. It was a bit of I remember putting it on for the screen test, and I think Zach, you sent me a picture of, it was the Polaroid, the literal Polaroid of someone, you taking a picture of me or someone taking a picture of me, and that moment when I stepped outside for the first time, and it all been so hush hush, everything had been kept under wraps, and you know, everyone was you know, walking around behind closed doors, and then I stepped outside and everyone kind of turned and looked, and you had that moment where I didn't feel ridiculous. It felt empowering. It was a remarkable experience. It was something which I will never forget, because if you told me as a kid that, oh, one day someone's going to put you in a skin tight blue outfit and you're going to stand in front of a whole bunch of people and they're going to take pictures, I would probably dread that day. But because there happened to be an S shield on the chest, and there's something which lives in our psyche down to pop culture and what Superman represents, that carried an extra magic in that moment and made it something really, really special for me.
And what was interesting, because when we were doing the test, we didn't have time. We were still developing the suit. So we asked them, and we got Christopher Reeve's suit out of archives. And I remember it came, and they had white gloves, and they pulled it out, and we were like, oh my God. And that's what we used for the screen test until we were able to develop. And also, you know, it takes months to get it, and it had to be, you know, specific to Henry's proportions and
our suits for the movie. Yeah,
it was quite a process.
Well, it's funny too, because I tell that story too about you coming out in the Christopher Reeve suit, which,
Right.
by the way, is not. Let's be frank. That suit has the underwear on the outside. If I laid it on the table in front of you, it is not heroic looking. It is made out of polyester or something, and it's not even like ours. Like the modern suits have some shape, right?
Yep.
If it's laying on the ground, you're like, oh, the guy who wears that, looks like a big dude. But the Christopher Reeve suit is literally like, if you took off a stocking and you laid it on the table, it's kind of what it looks like. It's not, it's kind of this flimsy thing. But, and when Henry came out of the trailer in that suit, and all of our, we had a small crew to shoot the test shot, and those gruff dudes like turned around and looked at him. I was like, oh, geez, what's it going to be?
This is going to get ugly.
They were like, badass. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They were like, that's Superman. That's badass, bro. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's okay. That's good. Woo. You run the gauntlet on that one, but it was cool. Yeah, and then by the way, he looked at me like you do, exactly as Henry said. You look at that outfit and you go like, oh, that's like, I think it's in, we're all programmed to see Superman, just like even you guys with your S's on, you look like, you look strong.
Yeah. It's a powerful image, Superman, and it stands for a lot more than just a blue suit.
Yeah, it does indeed. What do you think?
Solid.
Zach, I've got a question for you, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Jor-El's AI consciousness construct, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
How complete is that? How advanced is the Kryptonian technology in the sense that is that consciousness capable of love?
I don't think so. In my mind, it was like he kind of had to load what he believed to be what a grown-up version of himself would need. I think it's super complex, but I don't know that it is a complete person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and the reason why I say that is because I don't want. I think it undercuts a little bit of Jor-El's sacrifice if he
he's still like
snuck his
good.
Consciousness into a thumb drive and tucked it onto the ship and said like,
probably should have done that for my wife.
Laura.
Damn
Sorry,
it.
Laura. I'm out of here. But I do believe as I think about it like he like a diary that he wrote to his son, right? Like a love letter. Like a love letter to his son.
Okay.
So that when he got there to Earth or whatever and finally came full circle, that he would be able to like, it's like, you're in the attic of your house and you find this letter your father wrote you. To my adult son, read when you're 40. And you open it and you read it and you're like, oh my God. That's kind of how I imagine the Jor-El AI.
Okay, so it carries the message of love, but itself is not capable of love.
I think no sweat. I think that's cool. It's a great question. It's a thing we grappled with because, it does, you want him to still be,
Vastasitteko tulee juustoisliakuen? Vasta silloin vasta.
Have given something up to get you out,
Right.
Which I think is super important.
Yeah.
Because there is a theme of sacrifice throughout the movie, And
yes,
and I think that theme is, it's like everyone Clark comes in contact with, the lesson that they give is that for a greater good, we go.
Right.
Hey Zach, mind if I jump in for a second?
What do you got?
I just wanted to tell you and Debbie, a lot of people love you and care about you, and we thank you for all the work that you've done in your films. And Henry, you're great. We hope to see you again soon, hopefully. But we'll see.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's amazing. I like your. I see you got a Superman right over your shoulder there.
Yeah. Behind you.
I had to search for
look out!
multiple Walmarts. It's about 36 inches tall. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, he's like I was gonna say, either he's super far away and he's life size, or he's
Yeah.
right there.
It's like universal things of every superhero should be.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like
he is a big. He is big.
optimistic and
There we
everything
go.
with you.
Damn,
Oh, wow.
son.
Yeah.
Vittu, se oli paljon
I
isompi, mitä
appreciate
mä
and I
olin.
love you people. They are amazing people. And appreciate you
Vittu,
guys are
metrin
amazing human
pituinen.
beings.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. Thank you.
Where's Danny? Is Danny there?
Danny.
Hi.
Danny.
Hello.
Where are
How
you?
you
I think
doing?
you're
We
on
can
my
hear
other
you.
screen. Hang on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there
Yes.
you are. You're like the most
literally
intense
hear-
close up.
Yeah. Yeah, I have problems with the audio.
Oh, where are you?
I come from Chile,
Oh,
Chile.
perfect.
like
I love it.
south, far
Yeah,
south.
south of here. It's slightly south. If I get on the Harbor Freeway and keep going.
Yeah. So yeah. So I
Come on,
have a question
Yeah.
that is the mother of all our questions as a fandom.
Oh, really?
Yes. That's serious.
Oh, geez.
Oh my god.
I'm scared.
I'm scared of it too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me too.
When will you release the Snyder Cut?
Oh no! Oh no!
There it is.
Tiinu, kaikki vaan
There it
katsoo.
is.
Yes. There it is.
Is it us releasing this?
Yeah, when will I release it?
Don't cut the stream this time.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Soi sanoa, älä katkaise sitä striimiä tällä
Look, the truth is, I'm not 100%.
Capable.
Me personally, I'm not really. And I've said it before. I'm not really in control of it necessarily, right? Like, I mean, I've said it exists, and I've been very clear with my, like, what I did with it, and but that it's not really it's not really up to me per se. If it was up to me, I would have probably already like left it on a thumb drive in a bathroom somewhere. And
Yeah, because people like picking up thumb
No.
drives in bathrooms and putting it
well,
down.
not anymore. Not anymore. In the current
Typical
time,
scenario.
it would still be there.
What else do you do with your Saturday night?
Yeah. Things not
Someone
to
would be
do
putting
101.
Pharrell all over
Yeah.
it.
Sulla on niin hyvä, kun se olisi vaan lyönyt
there a two-story there
silloin, kun
somewhere?
toi soi.
Oh,
Joo, en
about
laita
the
ja-
thumb drive in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, whoever's listening, do not pick up any thumb drives you find in bathrooms.
Yeah,
That is
this is not.
Well,
I'm not-
try it out.
that is not a
I'm not
situation.
suggesting this as you go forward. In your, this is not. Yeah, everyone's like going, okay, go to the look. Let's go see what's in the
Yeah,
bathroom.
there's going to be a news story about that. Tons
Yeah.
of people down the bathrooms.
Yeah, looking for thumb drives.
Looking for thumb
And
drives.
also, I promise you, I did not put that. Don't pick the one that's in there up because that's not
Whoa.
mine. So whatever's on that one is not something you want to see, probably.
Well,
Oh, dear.
But yeah, so like, look, I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Henry? It's a hard question.
I don't know.
Come on,
I
do it.
mean, for
kun ne
me,
puhuu siitä sarjastakin, niin se olisi ehkä se
I mean,
parempi
having just watched Man of
vaihtoehto.
Steel, this for me was such a big moment because
Saako next week? Next week. Saako ensi
I remember when that first trailer dropped, which I hadn't been privy to beforehand, and I just saw it with everyone else. And I remember exactly what I was going through in my life at the time. I remember where I was, remember who I watched it with, and then I watched it about 1,500 times after that. And that whole experience of shooting the movie was a life changer for me. The whole experience of the press tour, watching the movie, it was definitely a fulcrum point which changed my life from what it was then to
oltais haluttu niinku
what people
yllätysvierailijoita,
perceive
mutta
now
ei
as
varmaan
being
otettu,
being
koska
famous or whatever it
Man
is,
of
and that was
Steel.
a massive shift for me. And I remember so much of it in very, very exacting detail and with all of the emotions in touch. I mean, I was going through a lot at the time as well, sort of
Tulisikohan
aside from the work
Justice League
stuff.
reviewissa
But
kaikki ne
it
memberit
was for me a
Plus
massive,
funny,
massive
yeah.
journey, and I loved watching it. I still love watching that movie, and I will remember those days until the very end for me. It's been a long journey since. I do think it would be fun to perhaps have, worked with a trilogy or a trilogy a bit differently. And I mean, I would love to see a version of Justice League without the mustache. And
would you be okay if you had like, I don't know, like the
innovative
version of, like from the Reign of Superman, where he rises up and has little long hair and also a full beard? Would you be okay?
Oh, so you're saying like you're asking for the mullet and the beard?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Mullet,
Well,
little
listen, there's some hairstyles. There's some hairstyles that just don't age. Awesome. And I'm gonna put that mullet in the category. I mean, look, for me, one of the things we wanted to do with Justice League was when he came back.
Ois vaan sanonut, että jatketaan
He
sitten,
was,
kun mä review vaan
you know,
jotain tommoista.
Iconic in some way. Iconic to the risen Superman. Maybe minus the beard and the mullet, but with other aspects of that look that I feel like are super important. But yeah, it was always my intention to like not, I'd love to see that version of Superman without the mustache, or at least without whatever that implication of a mustache.
Yeah, without the mustache. It's the important thing.
Yeah, but I think seriously, like
come
to
on,
see, I mean, we were on this journey, and all these characters. I mean, it was this hero's journey for all these characters, and I think it's a shame that we never saw it come to fruition the way Zack intended it to be. To see them reach their journey to become, the Justice League, the team that
it would have been. Listen, and look, like I told you, I have it, so it's just a question of like, we got to find a way to show it someday.
Yes.
I reckon you should show it.
Oh, come on.
What's that?
I reckon you should show it.
What, you think I should just show it?
Yeah, I think we should show it.
I reckon it too.
No disagreement here.
Do it.
I think that.
Do it.
I mean, I don't have I can't show the movie.
No.
Right now.
No.
Because it's still a little bit to do. But I mean, there is this. I have this. I don't know if this is helpful. See that?
Oh
my god.
Oh my god.
Very nice.
Get the hell out of here. Oh my god.
Holy fuck.
So that's coming.
That's a little thing there,
It's a little thing. It's not to be too, what do you call it?
Don't get too hyped up about it.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, the good news is, there's one little piece of bad news, and that is that it'll probably be in 21, the actual release, because we got a little work to do.
Forever
but
21.
We're doing it. So
Forever 21.
Get ready.
Let's fucking go.
Nice job, Danny. Nice
Ready
job,
to
Danny.
get mentally prepared.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Henry.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.
Love you, Henry. Dig in the mustache, buddy.
I just woke up like this today. I don't know why. This is why.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
Okay. Nice job.
Hyvä Danilla, kun kyys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Cheers,
guys.
guys. Thank you very much.
Holy fuck.
Bye-bye.
Nyt oli.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Well, y'all have a good day.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh my god. I can't believe it.
Unbelievable.
You see that picture?
I can't believe it.
I know. Who's that?
It's happening.
Oh my god.
Holy fuck, Vittu.
Fucking incredible. We got it.
Holy
so
fuck. Mut vasta ensi vuonna, vittu.
They're losing their mind. Did he log off?
Microphone's unmuted. I'm just,
Come on.
no.
Vittu, miksi vasta ensi vuonna? Ei saatana.
Discussi-filmikin laitan Zack Snyder Justice
Okay, so that went well.
release on HBO.
Yeah.
Are we still on live?
Onko tää nyt remasteroitu siis?
Oh yeah, we're gonna go straight to
Siis tää on nyt se,
Okay, I'm leaving.
Snyderin, se mitä alun perin haluttiin Justice Leaguesta.
Ei saa.
Tää on nyt se mitä me ollaan haluttu. Ei jumalauta saatana.
Siinä se on. Ei saatana.